Guys, welcome back to another video. We have an Audi Q7. It's actually the Audi Q7 that we done one injector on a year and a half or 2 years ago. Today our problem is that we have a pump after failing and we have 6 injectors gone. So we're renewing the high pressure pump and 6 injectors. But what am I showing? There's not a whole lot on social media about this. That's the high pressure pump buried in there. It is a pain in the bottom to get in at because you have the intake manifold to come off, you have EGR coolers to come off, you have got oil coolers to come off, turbo to come off. Awkward to get all the bolts on the back for the turbo. A fight now, to be honest with you, because Alan is on the job. He doesn't want to record a video on it, so I'm just doing this for anyone that wants to see this thing. There's 3 bolts holding in that pump now, okay? We have the injectors out of it, so we have no compression in it. So luckily we don't have a special tool for turning the crank. There is some fancy thing out there that I don't have. So right now we're turning just by the spline key bolts that are down there, and because we've no compression it should turn relatively easy. We're going to rotate it around. There is a hole in the actual pulley on the back, and once we rotate around and get our hole in the pulley on the pump up at top dead center, there's I think it's a 6mm bolt that will slide through, hold the pulley in place into a bracket at the the fore side of the actual pump, and that'll hold the chain in place. Now this chain cannot move, so do not take out this pump with that bolt not in there. So the one singular bolt I'll show you in a minute, but in theory then there's no unbolting and no removing of the gearbox. We should be able to, and it's weird, but this is what's happening in here. We have splines on the top of the pump that interchange from that pump to that pump, and the spliney bit should sit onto this with a nut on it here on the bench, and then like a steering column we have cogs all the way around, but then we have one missed cog, so there's a bigger gap between 2 of the teeth, and at that point is where we'll be putting this thing back in. But it should in theory just slide out, so it's not held onto the chain, or the pulley is not held onto the pump. It only just bolts out and it just goes out, is my hope. Okay, I'm just showing because there's not much on anywhere that I can find about this, but we're going to renew it, myself and Alan, at this stage when we're in this deep. Okay guys, we have the pump removed, and where we're at, we had 3 bolts holding in the pump, but we had, I'm up to using as a T30 Torx screwdriver. So the T25, the T25 goes in at the top, and then the shank is a little bit bigger to get supported here by this yoke. So the long and short of it is that is what I've made up. I was going to get other yokes, but it's not a 6mm bar bolt. It's a bit smaller, okay? But that's in there holding that thing. Then to rotate our engine, I was having a task, so I had to make up something quite fast. That's actually 22.5mm square, anywhere I'd say between 22 and 23, and it locks between the 8 bolts that are sitting around down at the crank. I don't know if you wanted to try, probably won't get to see it, but you get to see that it sits in a bit tight. Now you can't see it, lads. It sits in anywhere between them 8 bolts and rotates the engine, but because the engine was still, well, I call it awkward enough to turn, so that's made up. This is off. Now our task is going to be to get that bit of a gear off of that and onto that, but it basically just slides into the gear with nothing holding it in place, okay? So it's not held in the chain. The pump is only sitting in there, and the chain can't fall off. We get this removed, swap on that, as the challenge continues. That little gear, as I said, had to come off it. We used this Sykes Pickavant puller thing that did work, but it did put pressure on it, a lot of pressure before it actually let go. But it's not for the faint-hearted. These things are challenging, okay? Okay guys, just to show in here, we've done a bit of cleaning on it, but the actual, can you see where the tooth is missing here? It's at 6 o'clock. So we're going to put our pump in that position, and then if we need to, we're going to kind of give it a little wiggle and a woggle, and hopefully it'll just go into place, okay? Okay guys, pump is in, pin is back out of the back. It's kind of hell on earth now to get in this because the missing tooth is on the bottom, so you can't see it. We were using a borescope camera to try and look down. I also marked the cog on the top, and I marked the cog on the pump and the cog on the pulley, to try and get a ballpark of, 6 o'clock and 12 o'clock. We had a job fighting against it because every time we pushed in the pump, the chain and the gear kind of moves back away from it. So we were holding it in, 2 of us, myself and Alan, at it, and getting wound up and stressed out. But anyway, we did eventually get it in, but it is a challenge, okay? Look, pump has changed, just to show you the detail on what's involved in swapping the pump itself out on these things, okay? That is kind of that for this one, lads. It's only the detail on changing the pump. All right, guys, like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you on the next cartoon. Peter Kennedy, signing out.